Top of the top, good morning. Welcome, everybody. Today, I get to sit down with one of my high school coaches, one of my mentors, an inspirer, a motivator, a podcast host, man, God-fearing, a father, a husband, energy unmatched, passion unmatched, heart unmatched. The willing to serve is just unmatched. And, man, I know when two greats get in a place and get to conversate, I know there's a lot to give and a lot to receive. So today, I get to sit down with the recently just announced head coach of junior college, Hartnell, Coach Art Berlanga.
Hey, man, my man. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for sitting down with me today.
Grateful to be here, man.
I was curious, did you ever have, when you were in sports, did you have a pregame ritual?
Sure did. I didn't realize it until I was more so a senior in college, where I figured that out. Where that routine, man, is pivotal in my experience. Where I went from a guy who had no routine in high school, my first 3 years of college, and then it took me my senior year to figure out and really truly develop a routine for myself that really allowed me to be in the right state of mind and to put my body in a position to make plays because of my mindset going into it, right? I'm a kind of guy that I don't get too hyped.
Yeah.
I'm even kill, neutral, because if you can't control your emotions, you can't control your performance, right? So I always it's always great to be excited. Yeah, you make a play, let's be excited. Let's celebrate with one another, right? But then there's a time and period where we got to move on from that. We got to move on to the next play, get refocused for the next rep. And same thing with the bad mistake, right? You make a mistake, some guys let it linger, the body language begins to be poor, and they can't move on. Next rep mentality. So that's kind of the thing that I developed over time, but I really didn't have it figured out until my senior year in college, man. Yeah.
What made you figure that out in that senior year in college? Why then?
Yeah.
Why not senior year of high school? Why not freshman year of college? Why that year?
You don't know what you don't know, right? You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do better when you don't know better. So I just figured, you know what, man, I did not like the results of my junior year. I didn't have a very good season, and I wanted to have a better year. So I was, you know what, man, I have to do something different. I have to change something up, right? As the definition of insanity goes, right? If you do something over and over again the same way, expecting something different, it's not, you're insane to think that, right? So I knew how to change something up. So I often also say is if you want something you never had before, you got to do things you never done before, right? So I realized, you know what, I think I need to have a routine. I need to figure something out to where I'm calm, I'm collected, I'm calculated before the snap, before we go into the field or to the stadium, just to get prepared for what's about to happen, or what I'm about to do on this field. So I just realized, like, man, I had to have a certain playlist of certain songs in the same order. I figured that out. I was like, okay, my mood.
What's your favorite song on the playlist?
I mean, you know, I was a R&B guy, right?
Yeah.
R&B, just to get it going, right? I'm not trying to, I ain't listening to hip hop right away, right? Not 8 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock in the morning. Smooth transition. I listen to gospel and worship music as well. And then when it comes closer to game day on the field, we're definitely hitting that Lil Wayne. You know what I mean? And having that on repeat and just to get that mentality right, man. Certain songs we all connect to, right, or identify with. Like a certain song we hear, it just turns a switch on, right? So that's part of that routine.
Definitely. One of my biggest routines I always had, man, before every game, before every show, even today, before every meal, before I go to sleep, when I wake up, one of my biggest pre-game or anything ritual is I gotta say my prayers.
Yeah.
I gotta involve God in this. I gotta speak my thoughts. I gotta let my heart go, and my sign of vulnerability goes. Not that prayer before games, that prayer before shows, just opens up a certain type of feeling. It gets my emotions and my drive going, and it really calms me down and lifts me up at the same time. I was curious, how much does God play a factor in your life overall, even with what you got going on today?
He's the foundation of my life, man. You know, my parents introduced me to him at an early age, and just getting to, you know, read his word and live a biblical-based type of lifestyle, and just understanding that, man, and understanding my power doesn't start and end with myself. I could believe in something much bigger than me, right? It's greater is he who is in me than he who is in the world. And I realized that, and I learned that, right? So he's the foundation of everything I do, man. My passion, the gifts and talents I have, it comes from him. And it's my job to utilize it. It's my job to implement it. It's my job to give it back. As his word says, to whom much is given, much is required, right? So he's given me a lot, man. And it's my turn. The requirement now, I give you these people. I've entrusted you with these young men and coaches. So what are you going to do about it? How are you going to use the gifts and talents I have given to you to further the kingdom?
Yeah, and
right?
That's
Come
our
on.
gift back to God.
That's exactly
God
right.
gives us a gift, and it's our gift back to
We
God.
got to share
what
it.
we do with it. And
100%.
my prayer even this morning is like, man, thank you so much for the opportunity to let me sit down with Coach Berlanga. And I pray that you let our hearts be vulnerable and open in our minds, and you speak the word through us.
No doubt.
Let us be the messengers. And I pray also that the message that we speak gets to the person that might need it, to be encouraged, to be inspired, to be motivated, to learn, to give, and just have their heart open too as well. So one thing that you brought up that I really love too was just the foundation, and that you brought up your parents. And I've been around your father, and same energy, same vibes. And with your brother, just the foundation is always so strong, and everybody's always worried about the top, but never and always forget about the bottom. I know we got a lot to talk about, man. There's a lot of greatness happening, but just to go back to that foundation, I have a lot of things in my childhood that has made me who I am today. I was wondering if there was any situations, experiences, or chapters in your life that you could pinpoint or go back to that you feel has had an impact on who you are today.
Oh, that's a great question, man. I think most definitely having a twin brother, identical twin brother.
Facts.
I mean, best friend growing up, right? We ride or die, man, and everything he did, I did. Everything I did, he did. When we were separate, the funny thing about our relationship is if we go to any type of social event, he was a little bit more extroverted than I was. I was a little bit more reserved, yeah,
he's a funny guy.
Yeah. And he would make friends, and I would make my own friends. But then you couldn't be friends with just one of us because we're kind of like the same dude, for the most part. So that was one of the things we always had someone to experience life with, right? We go to a situation where we're uncomfortable. It's like, as long as I have my twin with me, I'm gonna be okay, right? And vice versa. That was just kind of our relationship growing up. We like the same thing. We're passionate about the same things, and that's just part of being an identical twin, man. And we brought the very best out of one another, right? And if it wasn't for him, I don't think I'd most definitely know that I wouldn't be the person I am today. Yeah, we impacted each other's lives to this very day.
I've been telling a lot of parents recently, man, I'm like, man, they have a kid like 2-3 years old. I'm like, first one, second one? They're like, first one? I'm like, next one's got to be coming up, right?
Yeah.
Like 1, 2 years old, you got to have another one. And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, that's your responsibility. He needs somebody or she needs somebody to grow up with, to battle with, to talk to be challenged by, to look after, to be looked after. And that's why I say I grew up with my brother too. And that's what I'm saying. Me fighting him every single day has given me a certain type of fight in my life.
No doubt.
Me competing with him every day has given me a certain type of competing in my life. So that's why I was hoping, or I knew that you were going to say your brother.
Yeah, man.
Talking about that foundation and growing up with your brother, what is this thought process of today's generation is soft and lazy?
I hear this often. This is pretty a hot topic today in the coaching realm, in the coaching world, and in education. And you said the words lazy and
unconfident, but soft.
Yes, thank you. So I really believe it starts with the parenting. That we have to take responsibilities as parents, right? The good word says, when you train a child up as they should go, they will not wander, right? Or they won't steer away from it. So it's our job as parents, man, to prepare them for those hard moments, right? We're too, like you said, soft, because when we see our son or daughter experience something painful, challenging, hardships, and it reminds of our childhood, how things were rough or tough for us, we're trying to make it a little bit easier for them. But you're making life even harder for them because they're not learning these principles, they're not learning these skill sets or the switch of the mentality. Right, it's going to help them prepare them to win in life. Yeah, you might help them in that moment, but you're crippling them for life. So it has to start at home, man. The accountability, being tough. Like, let me give you an example, man. When we had our first child, my wife and I had this discussion. What are we going to do when they fall? When they start learning how to walk, what are we going to do when they fall? And they start to cry. They said, we're going to ignore them. We're going to ignore them. So when both my son and daughter were learning how to walk, when they would fall, obviously, it wasn't if they weren't hurt. If they were hurt, we're gonna let them figure it out for the first 30 seconds to a minute to see how they respond to it. To let them know, hey man, get up. And we act like we never saw it, because if the parents make it a big deal, the child's gonna make it a big deal. So they're gonna cry even louder. They're gonna cry for even more attention. And if you don't respond in a certain time that you did before the first or second time, they're gonna get even louder and more obnoxious, right? Because they want the attention that you gave them before, but now they're not getting it. Well, I'm going to be even louder now so I can get it.
That's fire.
Yeah.
Man, that brings so many memories to me. Is like, even like when kids fall, they look around and see who.
Yes.
As soon as you see them, then they go crazy.
Oh, you okay? Okay. And then they start to
And then
cry.
they go.
Man, I was like, I look and I keep moving.
Dang, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
That's actually.
But that starts with the subconscious, right? We're training the subconscious and training our children up. Man, we got to be tough in this world, man.
Yeah.
This world will eat you alive. And you know it. The people who are watching understand this, man. If you live a bit of life, it's going to eat you up if you're not prepared for it or if you don't respond a certain way.
I feel like a lot of those type perspectives and mindsets come from either experience, research, or having mentors.
Right.
Who was like a mentor in your life that has stuck out to you the most?
Yeah, man. Outside of my own parents, right, my own household, man, there's a couple guys, man, that really influenced and impacted my life. First guy is obviously Coach Avila out in Seaside High School. Great mentor. Really showed me how to combine and utilize your faith and your passion and intertwine it together where it doesn't have to be separated, right? Using your influence and your platform to influence and impact lives, be transformational, transforming lives, not being transactional, right? You give me something, I'm going to show you some kind of love, but it's all based upon conditions, right? And he showed me what unconditional coaching looks like. Unconditional coaching looks like, right? Just like unconditional love was unconditional coaching, right? And Coach Hans is another guy, Justin Hansen. He's actually the current head coach at Cabrillo College. Huge influence in my life, man. Huge influence in my life. Coach Knapp, man, there's a lot of guys, man. Guys on my own staff that were my assistant coaches, man. My boy Jason Lenich, he's currently on my staff now. He's been with me at Gonzales, went with me to Colorado. Now he's with me again here at Hartnell College, building this thing up again from the ground up for a third time.
He goes everywhere.
Everywhere, man. And we need people like that. I need him, man. Like, he is instrumental. I can't thank him enough for the things he's done, the time he puts in, the sacrifice he's made just to be part of what we want to build together and really having a partnership in that. And he's influenced and impacted my life as well, man, you know? So just to name a few, I know I'm missing some guys, but those are to name a few.
2 questions. Let's make it a two-part one. Why did you want to be a head coach, and what does it take to be a successful head coach?
Oh yeah, those are some loaded questions right there, man. I think initially I wanted to be a head coach because I just had this knack for leadership. I just didn't know how to go about it or implement leadership strategies, right? Where I was actually doing these very things, which is why I look back and reflect on my life as a student athlete. I was always a team captain on every team I was on. And I wasn't the most vocal guy, you know. I kind of just stayed in my lane. I kind of just led by example. Yeah, I will encourage guys. I will hold guys accountable when it needed to be done. But I wasn't really a vocal leader. But I led by example, right? Or when I went into a room or I'm going to elevate everyone's game, right? Or at least that was my intention. Yeah. And I just had this, I was just a big fan of leadership, man. I respected and valued men who led men, right? Men who led men. And did it in a way to where it maximized and these men became even better because of them, right? I think I heard a quote once that said, the 2 most important days of your life is the day you were born and the day we find out why, right? I believe that's Mark Twain said that. And that's why I wanted to be head coach, man. I want to be a leader of men. I want to influence the masses and impact them, but do so in a very organic, real way to where I'm giving them the truth, right? I'm not speaking my truth because my truth may not be reality. Right? My truth might be delusional, right? But I'm going to speak the truth, right? What are we in today? What's the circumstances of the world today? And how can we overcome obstacles, pain, challenges, shortcomings, and use it to turn it into a message, right? Because who better to tell your story, J2, than you?
Facts. Nobody.
Come on, man.
Nobody can tell your story. What about this? As far as, I feel like a lot of times with coaching, how many coaches do you have on your staff right now?
I currently have 16 coaches. 16 coaches. Looking to add a 17th one right now as we speak.
What will be the 17th one that you're looking to add?
Another offensive lineman, a line coach.
Line coach?
Yep.
Why 16 coaches?
You know, I want this platform, this opportunity here to lead Hartnell football to be in a place for an experience. An experience to become the best version of yourself. And to do your best to work. That's my job as the head coach, man, is to create an environment where you could become your best and you could do your best to work. And it's up to me to implement strategies and tools for you to do that, right? To grab it and take it out of you and pull it out of you, right? And I want to influence them, man. I want to impact the coaching community here. There's a lot of people who complain about the coaching level out here in the A31. A lot of naysayers, a lot of people criticize certain coaches at certain levels. It's like, so I'm not going to be part of the problem. How can I tell you not to complain if I'm complaining?
Facts.
Right? How can I tell you to coach with enthusiasm and passion if I don't bring enthusiam and passion?
How could you talk about the problem and you ain't trying to
Exactly right. So I'm trying to be part of the solution, man. Right? I'm a forward thinker, man. I'm in the game of solutions, not the game of problems.
Definitely.
So I want to bring these young men, either old, young, or inexperienced. It doesn't matter what age group or age bracket you belong in, or experience bracket you belong to. I want you. If you want to be a part of what we're building, I want to have you part of it. Why? Because in 1 or 2 years, I want you to go off and lead a team. I want you to go off and become the next leader of men. Because when I'm done here, who's next? Yeah. It's my job, right, to share everything I've learned and gained in this life to help the next person be do even better. I want you to be even better than me. Yeah. Better than me. Take it to another level, man. I'm going to give you the tools. Learn from me. I'm going to learn from you. And let's see where this thing goes, man. Right. Let's see how many lives you change. Let's see how many communities you impact and bring together. Definitely. Because we can't do special alone. It has to happen together.
Yeah. Facts. And I've even been saying this quote a lot lately. I'm like, man, I'm trying to lead as many people as I can, but don't follow my footsteps. Learn
yes.
from me. Like, I'm going to walk. That's what I do. I'm going to walk. I'm going to go on my journey and path. And I'm going to give everything I possibly can to show you whatever you right from wrong.
Right.
Like, I tell my siblings all the time, like, a lot of times they've always been told, man, you got big shoes to fill. I tell them, you ain't got no shoes to fill but your own. You don't got to follow my footsteps.
That's right.
Learn from them.
Right.
I'm going to make my mistakes. I'm going to take my L's.
Right.
But I'm going to win a lot, too.
That's right.
So take what you like and push away what you don't. So that is amazing. And then how do you go about finding coaches? Because I feel like one of the big things with coaching that I feel is a struggle is finding good coaches, for one, that actually care, that actually have the want to. Is like, I want inexperience. I want the want tos. I want the want to guys. How do you find those guys? And then where does ego and pride come into that? Because I feel like there's coaches that have a very aggressive style. Yeah. There's coaches that have a very laid back style. There's coaches that want things this way. But then you got the head coach or the offensive coordinator or that wants different. How do you balance 16 personalities?
Yeah. Expectations have to be clear. Expectations have to be hit every single day. It's like we meet after every practice, every practice we'll meet. Like, for example, we had one at the end of the day yesterday to finish the week. We met here at midfield and just communicate with them what I saw, what I observed, what can we do better, what went well, and how we're going to get better at the things we said we need to get better at. So reflection, a lot of reflecting, right? Because that's the only way we could really be real with ourselves and be aware of what we're doing and how we're doing it, is but we have to take the time to reflect and also take the time to get input from people we work with, right? I want to give them a voice, right? So, but the standard's the standard, J2. The standard's the standard. So if they don't meet the standard, right, love it on their players, getting the very most out of them, being educated and in their position group, being competent in their position group. And if they're not, if they're inexperienced, I'm going to give you the tools to learn it. Man, if you come here with a great attitude, great enthusiasm, great energy, the football piece will take care of itself. That can be learned. That could be learned, man. But how many people can walk onto a field and just elevate the field, elevate the room? That's leadership, man.
That's the energy right there.
Come on.
I have this question that I just saw that I screenshotted actually in January. Not because I knew I was going to interview you. Not because of anything. I was just like, I know at some point I'm going to get to ask him these questions. There's two on this thing, actually, but I'm going to save the other one for a little bit later. The first one was, and this is from the book, What Drives Winning?
Yes.
On to book number 3. I screenshot it. What Drives Winning, the book. You have on here, to start the season, what are the top 3 things that could get in the way of our team maximizing its abilities? And you can't use injuries. What were the 3 things?
And I wrote this?
The handwriting. Yeah, that's handwriting.
Yeah, that's me. That's me. The 3 things.
What are the 3 things that could get in the way of our team maximizing its biggest potentials, but we can't use injuries?
Right. Oh man. If I remember correctly, I think obviously ego, selfishness, and your purpose or your why. Well, I don't know. What did I write?
There's no answer.
Oh, no, it was just a question.
It was just.
Oh, I gotcha.
There was 2 questions on there, so I was like, dang, I'm
Yeah.
very curious. But
Yeah.
instead of asking, I'm just going to
Right.
wait till I see him.
That's the truth, man. Like if your ego and your pride, like you mentioned that a little earlier, if that's an issue, man, we cannot work together.
Yeah.
We can't work together because I'm going to put mine to the side.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you to do the same. I'm never going to ask a coach to do something that I've never done myself or I'm not willing to do myself, right? That's just kind of how I operate.
Yeah.
So if your ego and pride is going to be an issue, man, this is not the place for you, man. Coaching football might be for you, but coaching here is not for you, right? So the standards are standard. We got to come here with a selfless attitude. It's about we, not me. It's about us, not you. And we're here to, again, do special together because we can't do it alone.
Yeah.
We can't do it alone.
You got to be open-minded to new opportunities. Every time you have a wall up, I always say, man, you blocking blessings.
Yes.
And you blocking your blessings from going out with the wall up. How big is visualization as well as speaking things into existence, visualization in your life?
I'm going to tell you a story, man. Mm-hmm. So I moved back from Colorado in December. And those who may not know, I was a head football coach in Colorado for the last 2 seasons. It didn't work out, so I'm moving back home. And I got hired here at Hartnell College to teach the spring semester as an adjunct professor. Mm-hmm. So I was just teaching a few classes, evening classes. And I had no idea this position was even going to open up, nothing. Like I didn't know what the opportunity that awaited for me. There was rumors saying that it was going to open, but there was nothing official, right? And I was like, I don't know if this is going to happen this year or next year or in 2 years, but I'm going to start seeing it in my mind now. So what I would do is when I get to campus to do my shift and to teach my class, I will walk by the head coach's office and I will visualize myself walking to the front door, having a key without no key, putting it in the keyhole, opening it up, and then opening the door to the office and seeing myself in the office. I would do that every night before I would leave the building when nobody was around. So I would visualize that, man. This has been going on since probably January when the semester started, not knowing what the outcome was going to be, right? Yeah. So, and even before that, this rewind 2 years ago, I journal, right? Every day I have a gratitude list, and then I have a goal. And my goal was, because I wasn't sure if the Colorado thing was going to work out or not, that transition was going to be permanent or temporary, but I would write it out. It's like, man, you know what my dream goal would be? To be a Juco head coach. So I began to write every single day for 2 years. I wrote down, I'm so joyful and grateful now that I am a head coach of a junior college football team. Man. Every single day. For 2 years, I write it out because that was my dream job, right? We all have dream jobs, and this is my dream job. And I began to write it out 2 years prior, not knowing when it was going to happen, but I began to, again, preparation, just preparing myself for the opportunity when it came. And when it came, I jumped on it. Yeah. And here we are. Here we are. Come on.
I'm happy for you. That's crazy right there. Visualization.
Yes.
And then bringing our thoughts onto paper.
Yes. Everything happens twice. First in our minds, and then in reality.
You just spoke about, they're going to talk about how great of a coach I was, how great of an inspirer I was. But at the household, what would they say about me? I know that your wife is going to say a lot of beautiful things and great things. I know your kids are going to say a lot of great and beautiful things. I would say a whole lot of great and beautiful things. There's so many things to love about Coach Art Berlanga. What do you love most about you?
Hey, that's a good question. I've never been asked that before. What do I love most about me? I think my compassion for others. I think my generosity. I really give a lot of my time to people. Sharing generous with my knowledge and experiences with people, just trying to pass on knowledge. Because people often say the cliche is knowledge is power, right? Yeah. But I believe wisdom is where the power resides. Because you might have knowledge, but who's going to tell you when to use that knowledge and to apply that knowledge? That's where wisdom comes in. So I'm trying to build men. I told our team I think yesterday at our team meeting was that I'm trying to build wise men, not men who are knowledgeable. I want wisdom to be in your life, so you can use the things you've learned and then know when to use it or when not to use it, right? Okay. So I think that's what I would probably love about myself: my generosity, my compassion for others, my empathy, not forgetting what it was like for me in my journey as a teenager, as a young man, as a young adult in college, right? Not forgetting that journey. which is why I'm able to connect with my athletes and my coaches, because I haven't forgotten that.
Yeah.
I think oftentimes when people become cold and shut down and they don't want to help people, is because they forgot what it was like to be a kid themselves.
Definitely.
And everything they've learned along the way. Like, man, bro, like I see it all the time with educators and even coaches. Like, they expect their players or students to perform at a certain level. It's like, bro, where were you at when you were 16 years old? You weren't doing the things you were asking your kids to do.
Definitely.
So let's empathize, let's connect with them, let's meet them halfway, right?
yourself in their shoes.
Absolutely, man.
What would have helped you more?
Yeah.
Facts.
Yes.
That's a thought. What would have helped you more?
Empathy goes a long way.
Things that I had, my favorite things about you was your willingness to serve and your willingness to learn. Those were my two that I wrote. That I
Thank you. Yeah. Appreciate
your willingness
that.
to serve, your heart to serve the community.
Right.
As you already said, your impact. How many lives can you impact? Your willingness to learn and your willingness to serve. What is the last thing that you most recently learned?
What's the last thing I recently learned?
Coaching, parenting, a book, a quote, anything. What's the last thing you feel like you've learned?
I think about my marriage. I think about we've been married for 12 years this year, and what I've learned is dating is the glue that holds a marriage together. Dating.
Keep the flirting going kind of vibe?
Yes, man. So we have a date night every week, and that's the glue, because there's moments where we're not connected, where we're not on the same wavelength, we're not vibing, right? Yeah. We're just going to our two separate ways. We're just not connecting. So in order for us to continue to sustain this marriage and get to continue to be with one another and get to know each other, because we grow. There's three people you marry, man. The person that I think you are, the person that you are, and the person you become as a result of being married to me, right? So it's three people. So what am I doing for you to become the best version of you and me to be the best version of me within our marriage? Is it just we're married and now we don't have to date anymore? It's like, no, man, that is the glue. So it is intentional, man, to have a date night every week, right? We have to. And that's what I've learned, is that there is a huge difference between our relationship on a day-to-day basis, our energy level, right? What we're giving to each other or taking from each other, is that if we haven't connected, it's because we haven't spent time together.
I love that. I love that. I have this big thing I have in my life, is the same thing you did to get it is the same thing you do to keep it.
To keep it.
When we try to get the girl, extra cologne, shower extra 10 minutes, say a couple extra compliments, but as we go through a year, that extra cologne and that extra 10 minutes leaves. But that isn't what you did to get it.
That's right.
So the same thing you want to do to keep it is the same thing you did to get it.
No doubt.
A lot of athletes today, they put in the extra hours on here. They watch extra film. They go and get a coach. And then they get to that level of college or NFL and they think, oh, shoot, I did it.
That's right.
I know it all. I don't have to put in the extra hours. I don't got to put in extra film. I don't need a coach no more.
Right.
I just do what the college shows me. So the same thing you did to get it is the same thing you do to keep it.
Well said.
Offense or defense?
I'm a defensive guy by heart, but I'm an offensive coach, man.
Really?
Yes. I've been calling the offense pretty much at every stop I've been at, but I'm a defensive guy by nature, right? Yeah. But I think the reason why I'm such a in tuned or I'm a pretty good offensive coach is because I'm speaking and coaching. Everything I coach is from a defense perspective. So if a quarterback takes a certain drop, I know if it's a quick game or I know it's a 5-step drop or down the field pass, right? Because if it's play action, where do my eyes go? So I understand what defense are looking at. So I use that experience and when I coach the offense, the guys say, hey man, this is what the safety's thinking. This is what the defense is thinking. This is what the defensive coach is thinking. So that's why we have a system where we're in a multiple offensive type of scheme, because I know what it's like to prepare against offenses that run multiple personnel groups, multiple formations. I have to prepare for those. I have to get our alignment right, because if you can't get lined up on defense, man, you're preparing to lose that rep, right? Definitely. So I try to put as much stress on the defense as possible, because I hated it. I hated preparing for that. So as a defensive coach, I would write notes like, man, if I ever become offensive coordinator, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this because
is causing me havoc.
This is exactly right. So I'm going to put the same stress on somebody else when it's my turn, and this is where we're at. This is where we're at.
And I'll tell all receivers, I said, man, you never played DB? So how you know how to make him move where you want him to move?
Yes.
Why you trying to be a receiver and never play DB? DB, what? You ain't never played receiver? you got to go figure out the opposite side.
No doubt about it.
Figure out how to stop the opposite side.
And that's,
if I had the answers to the test,
yes.
If I've already took this test before, I know what to expect.
And the thing too about that is coaches willing to get outside their comfort zone to do that. Because there's a lot of coaches who's like, I want to coach this position. I want to coach that position.
Yeah.
Say, hey man, if you only coach receivers, do you think it'll be a pretty good idea to understand the other side of the ball for you to understand your position that much better? Because this is what they're trying to do to prevent you from winning the rep.
Yeah.
So it makes you a better coach to understand both sides, right? So I'm at the point in my life in my coaching career, J2, where I've coached every single position group. I've coached O-line, D-line, backers, DBs, quarterbacks, receivers. I've coached every position.
What's your favorite?
Quarterbacks.
Why?
Because a reason why I like coaching quarterbacks is because, again, the defensive mind, the defensive perspective, I know what I want from you. So if I get that, I know what that looks like. Now, and I also know what great quarterback play looks like as well.
Yeah.
The guys that gave us the hard time, the guys I prepared against, right?
Yeah.
So taking those and implementing that, coaching that from our own guy, right? Especially when it comes to breaking down coverages, putting a defender in conflict, or we're going to high-low him, or we're going to read run option or run-pass option type of game, right? Putting defenders in conflict and forcing teams to set the edge and be forced players on the edge when it comes to the running game, making sure you have enough guys in the box versus our formation. If there's a gap open, we shift or motion, how do you adjust to that? And then that's all mental notes I'm taking, right? I'll show a formation, I will show a motion that we haven't ran before, just to put it on film, so the coach next week has to prepare for that.
Facts.
And I'm not gonna run it that game. I have no intentions of running it, but I just wanna give you something to prepare for. Why? Because it takes time for you to prepare for that. It takes practice time for you to prepare for that.
Yeah.
And you have to. If you're a good coach, you're going to prepare your guys.
Yeah. And if you didn't see that before, you can't prepare them for it.
Exactly right.
Exactly.
And then I get them thinking, chasing ghosts. Like, oh man, what if they do this? Because a lot of coaches chase ghosts.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what if? Like, man, if it's not on film, I'm not prepping for it.
Okay, I bet.
It has to be on film.
Yeah.
Right? At least that's how I come from.
Yeah.
And if you show something that's not on film, then us as coaches, we got to coach.
Yeah.
We got to adapt. We got to adjust.
Okay, bet. Dang, that's tough. How does a head coach or how does a team come up with the idea of what offensive scheme, who they are? What's their offensive personality, or who are they? How do they come up with their defensive? Is that the offensive coordinator's job? Is that the defensive coordinator's job? Is that the head coach's job? How do you come up with your offensive scheme and your defensive scheme?
Personnel.
So every year it would switch
It'd
based
be
on
a little bit different, yes. So if within our offensive scheme, it's all based upon personnel. What can our players do, right? What can they give us? And based upon that, then I begin to form it and customize it based upon what they're good at. So like what I ran in Colorado, what I ran in Gonzales was very similar, but also very, very different because we had different personnel groups, right? We threw the ball a little bit more in Colorado because I had a guy who can really throw the ball really well, right? He could read defenses really well. He could process information well, very high IQ. So we used that. That was his strength, right? Yeah. And then at Gonzales, I had a quarterback who was a really, really great dual threat. So we ran the ball with him a lot, right? And then high percentage passing game with screens, the quick game, play action to get the ball out, rhythm throws, things like that. So now here, that's yet to be seen. We're still part of that evaluation process, right? What can we do well, right? What do we don't do well, right? And it's my job as a coach to evaluate that as a staff, to come together as a collective. What's the best scheme or best place for us to implement based upon what we have?
Yeah. What was one of the greatest, highest points of your life?
The greatest, I would have to say the most pivotal moment in my life where I had to really flip the switch as far as am I smart or am I not smart? Because being a student athlete, the stigma or the stereotype is we're not thinkers, right? We're not very smart. We're not very intellectual. At least that was how I took it, or that's how I understood it. I could be wrong, but that's just my experience. Yeah. And I had to prove to myself that I was a good student. So I don't know if you ever thought about this, but I committed to the game of football, right? I love the game of football. I sacrificed for the game to where it took time away from the classroom so I could be better on the football field, better prepared. Well, then when football was over and I was looking to finish my degrees, and I was like, you know what if I commit to my academics like I committed to football? What if I spend 2 or 3 hours on my craft studying, writing papers, reading, doing the actual assignments? What would the result be? Because I'd never done that before. So I never knew what kind of student I could really become. And I took one professor in college, man, J2, she changed my life forever. changed my life forever. The voice I speak with today, it was born with her, Dr. Neal. And the reason why is because one day after class, she asked me to stay after, and she says, Art, how come you don't participate in my class? How come you don't give any insight or ask questions about anything within our class discussions? Yeah. And I told her frankly, I was like, look, Dr. Neal, I'm not confident in speaking. I don't think I'm smart like the rest of the students are smart. I have nothing to offer this academic setting. I don't have anything to offer. And she told me, you couldn't be more wrong. I've read your body of work. I've read the things you've turned into me. You are smarter, more articulate than you give yourself credit for. It's time that you start using your voice, because I know you have it, it's in you, but you got to use it. Yeah. And I'm telling you, next class, I'm going to make you speak. I'm going to make you share about your insights about the reading from the previous assignment. So I left the class that day, walked to my car, and I remember thinking to myself, I'm going to drop her class. I'm going to drop it because she was challenging me. Yeah. She was trying to make me become better, and it was very, very uncomfortable for me because I'm not that type of personality, right? I wasn't that guy. This is life lesson. And this is somebody, again, the person you see today, I was not that person like that. I wasn't that person before. I never knew this person even existed. And I said, you know what, man? No, I'm going to push really hard. I'm going to push through the uncomfortability, and let's just see who I become as a result of this. So sure enough, I showed up the next day, and that's where the voice was found. Wow. Dr. Neal brought it out of me, man. Wow. Yeah.
In college?
This is in college.
Man, shout out to her.
Mm-hmm.
In my culture, and like the Polynesian culture, a lot of us lack confidence or the voice, and that comes from when you're a kid. You know, you're told to, hey, be quiet, hey, shut up, hey, like do a lot of that. So they don't really find no place to really have their voice. And even today, coaching the kids, I feel like the biggest thing that is hindering success and raising that potential or having them become who they truly are is the confidence. And I feel like the confidence comes from the lack of experience of having a voice, of finding your voice. And a lot of us don't have a Dr. Neal in our life to challenge us, to make us uncomfortable, to put us in that opportunity to find the voice. So I don't know where I was going with that, but overall, that's just what the people need to hear, man. Yeah. You need to be a Dr. Neal or you need to find one. But ultimately, man, everybody has a voice inside of them, but it's never challenged. It's never found. And what are you doing right now in your life to find that voice?
That's right.
What are you doing right now in your life to give the voice to somebody else? So, again, I'm just ranting again, but overall, that's just amazing because that's just such a big life lesson of we don't give ourselves enough credit that we deserve. The second thing on that book that you wrote, it says, what's your biggest personal struggle that not many people know about?
That's a good one, man. My biggest struggle?
What's your biggest personal struggle that not many people know about?
I struggle with I think sometimes it's hard for me to tell people no, right? I think because I'm always trying to help somebody, right? Or they ask favors of me and I want to be involved, I want to help, and I have a hard time sometimes saying no. And I think that's something I think that's a lifelong struggle, a daily struggle for me, where people are asking me of things, whether it's at home, whether it's in my professional work, and saying no, man, it is a skill.
It is a skill.
It's a skill to say no, and that's something I'm just continuing to grow with, learn from, and just continue to get better at, man. Just understanding when to say no. Yeah. When to say no.
Sometimes you gotta say no because that means you're saying yes to you.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And that's my problem is I stretch myself too thin sometimes, right? And that's something I'm learning through. I'm growing through, and I'm getting better. I'm not as bad as I used to be. Yeah. But it's a continuous process.
I feel like that's one of my struggles right now in life.
Yeah.
Is, do I want to be a podcast host? Do I want to be a coach? Do I want to be a full-time coach? That's another thing that's been weighing heavy on my shoulders.
Right.
Man, could I have hit up Coach Berlanga to be the wide receiver coach here? You already told me I could have.
Yeah.
Do I want to do it?
You're right.
That's a certain commitment.
Yes, it is.
So, do I want to be a artist? Do I want to be a motivational speaker? I'm just in a constant search, and a lot of times that weighs super heavy on me. And another struggle that I battle with often is just feeling hypocritical a lot of times. sometimes I tell a lot of people that you're supposed to be motivated and that the test that you're going through is God testing you. But sometimes I'm going through tests and then I have to listen to my own words. And then just like not having the answers, I feel like my success that we spoke about earlier has always been happiness. And sometimes I question my happiness. Sometimes I feel really happy and I feel like I'm doing exactly what God called me to do. And sometimes I feel like a lot of times I feel like I haven't really reached what I feel my ultimate happiness is. I feel like because I don't have the resumes, because I don't have the accolades, sometimes it doesn't give me the credibility. Like I don't have the credentials to be a trainer. I don't have the paper for that. I don't have the credentials. A lot of times the lack of credentials weighs heavy on me. The lack of accolades weighs heavy on me. So like that's some of my biggest struggles that maybe a lot of people don't see or know as well. Like I'm always the motivator, but sometimes it's hard to get motivated. Sometimes I'm always helping, but who helps me? Sometimes I'm always giving life, but I'm never receiving life sometimes. So like that's one of my biggest struggles that I always go through too.
And I think too, J2, with that, you remind me of a verse. It says in 1 Thessalonians, it says, be grateful, be thankful in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you, right? So his will for you and I is just for us to be present, to be where our feet are, and to be grateful for what you have in your life, right? And he doesn't, the world might disqualify us because of everything you just said, my credentials or my certifications or my experience, but he makes me qualified. Come on, man. If you read the book, man, his 12 disciples were all rejects of society. He took all the rejects and he empowered them, and they all went off on their own, and they weren't equipped, they weren't qualified, but yet they healed in his name. They made the blind see, they made the lame walk, they turned water into wine, right? That's a God I serve, a God of miracles. I'm qualified because of him. The world doesn't qualify me for nothing, right? Everything I do is for his glory, man. We talked about foundation a little earlier, right? And I really believe that, man. I'm here to be present. I'm here to be where my feet are. I'm here to be grateful for everything that comes on my way. The highs of highs, the lows of lows, the wins and the lessons. I'm grateful for all of it because it's going to change me or mold me or transform me into the person I need to become to help even more people. How can I help somebody who deals with anxiety if I never experienced anxiety? How can I help a person who has a broken heart from a broken relationship where they got divorced or long-term relationship ended in a very bad way if I never been through that? So it's our experiences that connect each other, man. You can't share a message without mess, right? You can't spell testimony without test. So again, when we are tested, I will come out as pure as gold. Because my purpose, my value isn't based upon what people, the outside view me. It's what he tells me who I am, and I believe that.
That's why it's so important. Lean on his understanding.
Not the world.
Lean on his understanding.
Yes.
Ed Milet, one of my favorite speakers too. He says, man, it's the things that you feel unqualify you that actually are the things that
qualify you. Yes, sir.
That's his word. You had a mentor, Les Brown.
Yeah.
You invested in a mentorship.
Yes, I did.
That's one of my favorite speakers. What's one of the greatest things you learned from him, and why did you invest?
Man, that was a pretty great experience, man. Where I invested into this program where Les Brown was teaching us how to become speakers, just like he speaks, right, and how to present like he presents, and having that one-on-one. I got one-on-one coaching from him, and to get that validation from him, right, felt really, really good. And to be chosen as out of 300 people within the program, I was one of 20 students who were chosen to speak at a conference that he was hosting, he put on, right? So again, I'm just so grateful for that experience, but it's all a package deal. So people say, I'm a motivator, I'm an aspirer. Man, I'm here to empower, man. Because motivation only goes so far. After that, discipline has to take over. Lifestyle has to take over. Motivation will last a week, maybe a day. But then what happens when that motivation or your emotions or your feelings, then what?
Your friends are saying something.
When you don't feel like doing something, then what are you gonna do? Right? Or something unfortunate happened that you didn't see coming. How are you gonna respond to that? So I'm all about responses. I'm all about growing and learning. And this mouthpiece you hear from me has been. I wasn't born with it, man. It was a craft and something I really spent a lot of time on. right? The art, yes, the art of storytelling, the art of using quotes, memorizing quotes. That takes time, man.
And a lot of rereading it.
Yeah,
and a lot of saying it out loud.
Yes,
and hearing you
exactly
say it out loud.
right. So if you want to speak, man, just understand, like J2 and I, like you want to motivate people, you want to inspire people. You have to memorize. You have to memorize quotes. You got to write. You got to do a lot of writing, a lot of reading, right? To really be articulate and eloquent with your words and sentence structures. When to inflect your voice, when to bring it down, quiet it down, and then pausing. They're waiting, learning how to pause.
Anticipation
Makes it that much more convincing and engaging. So these are things I've learned.
Yeah.
I just become this person by accident. This is all about it's preparation.
It's preparation. I love these conversations because, man, I feel like speaking is one of the biggest things that has given me this is what I'm called to do. I remember one time I was doing a show out at the Catalyst in Santa Cruz. 1,300 people there, sold out show. And I was doing my song, and I'm over here vibing, going crazy. But as soon as my song ends, there's like a window before I know my next song is gonna end, and I start going. I just start talking, and when I started talking, like people was vibing with the song. But as soon as I started saying my quotes, as soon as I started giving my motivational speech, hey, press pause, because I know the song's about to play. I'm like, hold up, I ain't even trying. And I just go on a rant.
Yeah.
Everybody's eyes is like stuck. Everybody, you could just feel it. And as soon as I felt that feeling, that's when I first knew that I was like, man, I want to be a speaker. Like, music is cool, but I feel like it was really to get me in front of the people. Yes, I'm an entertainer, but really it was the eyes and ears and focus, the head nods.
Right.
The looking over at somebody.
Right.
Like, really just locked in, like looking at one person for a while, finding who's in your audience that are looking. That's another thing. It's like, man, there might be 1,300 people here, but there's 5 people that are with me.
That's right.
Who's my one? I'm trying to find that person. My word, I'm trying to find that person who needs it the most, who's really listening, who's really locked in with me. And that feeling that I got at the Catalyst made me want to be a motivational speaker.
That's it.
What's the difference from high school coaching to college coaching?
Great question. I get asked that quite a bit, actually. And the biggest difference is the appreciation. High school kids, very self-centered. It's all about what can you do for me, and then they haven't experienced enough life to understand how to appreciate people who are trying to help them yet. Yeah. They're just not there yet in their maturation process, right? And plus, the frontal part of their lobe is still being developed, so they're not playing with the full deck of cards quite yet, right? Yeah. So, but the difference between high school and college athletes is the appreciation, meaning you get the college kid. They didn't have life figured out like they thought they did, right? Things didn't work out like they had planned. Yeah. So then you get humbled by life. Yeah. So now they're more receptive to people who are trying to help them. And because of that and the time you want to spend on them, they show appreciation to it, right? Whether it's a handshake, them saying thank you, coach, I appreciate you. That's the biggest difference, I think, from teenagers to young adults, is the level of appreciation and understanding who's really trying to help you. It's for you to become the best version of you, right? Rather than high school, you're just not mature enough to understand and see it and appreciate that. Just like our parents, right? We take them for granted. But then when we go away to college, what happens? Like, gosh, man, I need to see mom and dad.
Or you become a parent. Or you become a parent.
Yes.
And then you realize how much you was really giving your parents a hard time.
Indeed.
That's that life experience. When did you know that it was up and like your time playing? Because I know you did some arena ball. I know you did some pro ball. When did you know that it was done, and then what was their struggles, or what was the thought processes that you had to go through from life after sports, life after college, to the next chapter of life?
It's funny you asked that, because I mentioned in our team meeting just this week about what is your value, what is your worth. If your value and identity is only in this game, only in the sport, when it comes to an end, which is going to come to an end sooner than later, who are you then? Right. So I remember when I was playing arena football, it was my last season. I was playing in Fort Wayne, Indiana, for the Fort Wayne Fusion was the name of the team I was playing for. And we were playing, it was the last game of the year, and we had to win to get to the playoffs. And we're playing the number one team in the conference. So they're in, win or lose, they're going to be in. But we had to win to get in. And I remember, so it was a tight game, very competitive game. I think there was anywhere from 8,000 to 9,000 people there. It was sold, the arena was pretty filled. Great environment, great place. And then I remember being on defense, man, getting ready for the offense to run their play. And as they break the huddle, I remember thinking to myself, I'm looking around the stadium and I don't want to be here right now. That's what I thought to myself. I was like, man, I don't want to be here right now. And it's a tight game. We're playing for a playoff spot. I mean, there's all the motivation you need to perform, right? And to be in the game. Well, I just wasn't feeling it, man. I wasn't in it. So I remember going home that day, back to our apartments, and I remember thinking, man, I think this might be it for me. I think this might be it. And sure enough, it was. So then after I got done playing arena ball, I went back to my college campus in Colorado. My head coach at the time was still there, and he asked me to coach, and I began to coach. And that's where I found kind of my purpose while I'm here. But before I got there, there's about 6 months gap between I figured that out. And I remember I was working at Home Depot at the time. No football, and this is when I already made my mind up. Like I'm done playing football. Now what? I'm just trying to figure out what I'm going to do next. What's my next move? And I remember walking through the aisles of Home Depot. I remember thinking, like, who am I now? Yeah. Like, who am I now? And the football's over with. My career's over with. I'm no longer an athlete. I have no one to report to. I have no one to answer to anymore. I have nowhere to be anymore, right? There's nothing, no structure. The structure is gone. Now what? I could do what I want. Yeah, it was cool for the first 2 months. Yeah. It was cool. I got to do what I want. I got to party a little bit more than I normally would, whatever it may be. Yeah. But then I realized, man, I ended up getting depressed for about a good 6 to 8 weeks, man. I was depressed, meaning I wouldn't get out of bed. I was sleeping a lot. I'll go to work, sleep, go to work, sleep. And I knew something was wrong. And it was because I had no idea who I was anymore. I lost track of who I was. But now football is over, what's my identity now? Yeah. And I had a hard time with that transition. And I found it through coaching, right? But then I realized also is that when you put your identity in the world, man, you're always going to fall short. If you put your identity from the acceptance or the approval of others, you're going to fall short. It's never going to be enough. So you got to do something that you're passionate about, that's purposeful, and that you're doing it for, you're doing it to make others become better, right? So that's how I kind of went through it, and that's my message today to all athletes, because I've seen guys never recover. For sure. I have good friends of mine, former teammates of mine who are alcoholics, who committed suicide because they lost track of who they were, and they were defined by a sport. They let the sport define them, and that's a very critical place to be. And again, it's my job as a head coach to prepare my players, my athletes for that transition. Yeah. I have failed them if I don't prepare them for that transition.
Yeah. Being a college head coach, what would be some advice to some high schoolers to try to find what college they should be going to? High school athletes, how do they find the college to go to?
I just think it was, one, do they want you? Go where you're wanted, right? A lot of recruits in high school or Juco that move on, or even guys who don't want to transfer, they go to places that they want to go, but they're not wanted by that program. They're not wanted by that coach.
Why they want to go there?
Yes.
They want to go there because it's USC, UCLA. They want to go for the name.
The name. But they don't really want you, right? Fact. They're accepting you, but they don't want you. There's a difference. Accepting something and wanting something. So go where you're wanted. Go where you're wanted. And what programs and the values that you carry and you live your life by, do they have those? Or if they don't have those things, or you don't have much values of yourself, or you don't know what those are, then what program is going to help you become the best version of you? More than just a player. What program is going to help you become the man that you need to become? Because as you know, less than 7% go on to the 4-year level, less than 7. So if I have a roster of 100 dudes on my team, only 6 are moving on. Only 6 are moving on. The other 94 guys in that locker room, they're doing something else besides football. So what are you going to do then? So that's my job, to help them figure that out.
Only 2 from my college went to the league.
Yeah. And it's, if you want to go,
0 from my high school.
and it's less than 1% that make it to the NFL, right? It's less than 7% that make it to the 4-year level. Then it's 1% who make it to the NFL level.
Facts. So 1 was make sure that they want you, and then 2 is the values got to be in alignment.
Got to be in alignment. Where can you grow and be the best version of you?
The last one that I have for me for the high school athletes is, do you fit in the system? Does that system bring out your strengths?
Yep.
I went to USD. I went from MPC which Coach Raz is one of my favorite coaches of all time. Standard is the standard.
Yes, sir.
But he also knew my strengths, and he did everything to bring my strengths out the best.
Yeah, he moved you, motioned you, put you in space.
And
I know.
He knows that I'm right now. I'm not a far runner.
Right.
I ain't got speed. I got quickness.
Well, get the chains moving.
What we need, I'm gonna get. And then I could get 75 catches.
Yes.
I could get 75 for over a band. And then he knew that, so he got me that. I go to USD, they like 50-50. I chose USD because Cousins was there, San Diego. They was the one that was talking to me at the time, and I wasn't trying to go to the East Coast to play ball. But then I go to USD, and I'm like, they keep throwing it at this damn tight end the whole time, and then they keep running the damn ball. I'm like, bro, the slot's barely even in the system.
Yeah.
Why am I here right now? And then, you know, and that kind of like weighed heavy on me of like, man, I don't even want to be here no more either.
It's very true.
It stopped making me like football.
You're right.
So it's like, go where you're wanted, find the people with the values and the ethics of who you want to become, and then are they gonna bring out your strengths?
Exactly
or
right.
are they gonna sharpen your iron?
That's a great point, because people ask, you know, what kind of system do you guys run in an offense? And I was like, you know what, man, what kind of quarterback will be the best fit for your system, for your scheme? I said, I'm looking for the dual threat. I want a guy who can hurt teams with their feet, but also with their arm. I want a guy who can move in space, extend plays. If the play breaks down, can they extend it? And that's the ideal quarterback for our scheme. That's the guy I want. So if you're more of a drop back passer and you're not very mobile, this is not the right fit for you. We're looking for a specific guy to command the offense.
Last couple questions. When it's all said and done, what do you want to be remembered for?
I want to be known for as a guy who understood his creator, understood who I was entrusted with, and what did I do with those that were put in my care, my responsibility. And I maximized that, right? I created an environment for everyone to become their best and to do their best work. I want to be remembered or known for my generosity. I want to be remembered for, obviously, a devoted husband and a present father, because those are my prized possessions, man. Right? Everything else might be this, but that's what keeps me grounded, right? That's what keeps me home. That's what keeps me balanced. And my wife is not afraid to check my ego when it gets too big. And then I need those people in our life, right? We need people who are going to hold us accountable, and that's why, I guess that's what I want to be known for,
Fire. You talked about in one of your posts about the visualization of you had Charles Woodson on your wall.
Yes.
Visualization is, again, Revis, Woodson, Ramsey. Who's the
I'm picking Charles Woodson every time.
Every time?
The most complete defensive back, in my opinion. Most complete player to ever play the defensive back position. Next to Rod Woodson. Rod Woodson's up there too. But they can play multiple positions: corner, safety, nickel. They can fit the run. They're not afraid of contact. They force turnovers. Not only do they get interceptions, but they cause fumbles. And they're physical. The most complete DBs, in my opinion.
Same.
Charles Woodson, Rod Woodson.
I would have chose that too. Is there any question that you've always wanted to answer that I didn't ask? Is there anything on your heart, on your mind that you want to say?
I would say, for any new head coaches, right, people in leadership positions who have to set the tempo and dictate the tempo for their teams or the people that are in their care, in their leadership, is to understand that empathy, man. Like, what would I tell myself as a first-year head coach, right, knowing what I know now? Year one going into coaching versus year 19, right? What would I tell that first-year head coach or first-year coach and my younger self? It would just be, you are only as strong as the men you surround yourself with. That's what I would say to myself is that piece of advice would be your team, your culture within your staff, it's only as good as the men you surround yourself with. So make sure you pick wisely.
Fire. Last question. Mindset going into this first season right here as a head coach.
Mindset going into the first season as head coach, man. We want to get better every day. Just get a little bit better every day. I'm not big in results, man. I'm all about the process. I'm all about the preparation. What can we do to put our players in the best position for them to be prepared and for them to win and execute, right? Whatever happens, happens, but we're going to do the best we can to set you up for success. Whatever happens, happens, man. We can't control the outcome. We cannot control the results, right? But we sure can control our preparation. And how well prepared can we be going into each game? And every day we have to get better. Again, the standard is the standard. If we don't meet that standard of hard work, selflessness, right? We over me, hard work. I don't know if I said hard work already, but hard work, then this is not the place for you, man. If you're gonna feel sorry for yourself and have a victimized mentality, this is not the place for you, man. Well, I want victors, not victims. Guys who respond to adversity, guys who respond to challenge and hardships. That's what I want. You get knocked, when you get knocked down on the play, because you can't win every snap, you can't win every play, but how are you gonna respond when you get your butt put on the ground, or you get put on somebody else's highlight film that's not yours, at the despise of you, right? But how are you gonna respond to that? As you know, Les Brown often says, if you fall, make sure you fall on your back so you can look up and get up, right? That's it.
Yeah, I love it. I have a goal of mine is that I want to try to speak to everybody, every team out here. I was wondering at some point if I could come speak to the team.
Next week.
Okay, bet.
Let's set it up.
Yeah, I want to come speak, get my chisel in.
Yes, let's go.
So I get my chisel.
Always welcome.
All right, man. Thank you so much, Coach Art.
Yes, sir.
Pleasure speaking with
J2,
you.
baby.
Man, love you.
Appreciate you, man. Love, baby.
Too, man.
Yes, sir.
Thank y'all for tuning in.
Hey.
Stay tuned for the next one. Stay blessed. Never stress.
Hey. Come on. Yes, sir.